team like Kyrie and KD, or the Lake Show with King James and AD. Wish I could match him up with the bad boys from the 80s, but no black and white, I need that in HD. HenDawgz.
Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy HenDawg, and we back to it. You know how we do it. 5 stories that prove Wilt Chamberlain was not human. Wilt Chamberlain is one of those guys that, over the course of the last year or so, when I've been, diving super far into old school basketball, he's one of those guys that has really caught my attention. Like, there's hundreds and hundreds of guys, that I can react to, but between Larry Bird, Pistol Pete, and Wilt, I think those are 3 that I kind of been looking at like these are 3 people that I really should be reacting a lot to. But before we get into this video, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. If you want to see more highlights, more videos like this, you're on the right channel. Go ahead and like this video. If you like this video, then go ahead and write something in the comments. Let me know, where does Wilt Chamberlain rank on the all-time list? I asked y'all for y'all Mount Rushmores on one of my last videos, and Wilt was in a lot of y'all Mount Rushmore. So a lot of y'all know. Y'all know what's up. I'm not gonna lie, I really don't know. That's why I'm so interested in Wilt, because I hear about him so much, and the few videos that I did react to, they've been crazy. So I'm about to go into a crazy rabbit hole and just dive into just way more Wilt stuff. So I think this is gonna probably be my 5th video ever of Wilt. So by the end of the year, we might be about 100 videos in. I think we're 100 videos in with Larry Bird. We close to 100 with Michael Jordan. So those guys I've really dove all the way into. But I think it's about time for Wilt, because his numbers was crazy. He scored 100 points in a game, first of all, and I might leave that for another video for us to talk about if he actually did score that 100, because there's no highlights of it, there's no tape of it. But I get it, it was back in the day, it was a long time, but I don't really know if he actually scored 100, because that just sounds so crazy, but he might have just been that good. So let's get into this video. I'm sure that 100-point game is going to be one of these stories, but let's see. We got 5 stories that prove Wilt Chamberlain was not human. Let's get it.
If you've been following this channel, you know this is not the first time I've said a player is not human. But you also know that I saved that title for players that are on a different level. I'm talking about guys like Jordan, Kobe, Pistol Pete Maravich, Anthony Davis. Guys that were not only NBA stars, but they were also...
Anthony Davis shouldn't have fitted. I love Anthony Davis, but he just named Kobe, Jordan, Pistol Pete, about to say Wilt, and then put AD in there. I love AD, but I don't know about that one.
Different. And so today we're going to be talking about one of the most different players the NBA has ever seen. We're talking about former Harlem Globetrotter Wilt Chamberlain. That's what he's best known for, right? And in this video, we have too much to talk about, so we're not going to mention his stats. Instead, I'm just going to share story after story about Wilt Chamberlain that will blow your mind, I promise. And one quick note before that, I just want to say, guys, we are 30,000 subscribers away from 1 million. So if you want to join this journey before we get to 1 million, if you want to get to 1 million together, then make sure you subscribe and let's get this done. For now though, let's look at 5 stories why Wilt Chamberlain was not human. Number 5. A 50...
Before we get into the top 5, he was just very excited about his 1 million subscribers. And it's crazy because I feel like I'm just as excited for my 10,000 subscribers. So go ahead and subscribe, man. I know I already said it earlier, but he just got hype. He got me hype, and I'm trying to get to 10K, man. So help me out. Help me out, man. It doesn't take nothing but a half a second. Not even that. Probably 0.003 seconds to do it. So go ahead and hit that button, man, and let's get into these top five stories. 50-inch vertical?
Let's start out by saying that as a pure athlete, Wilt could easily fit into the NBA today. I know this because he wasn't only a great athlete in the 60s, he wasn't only a special athlete. No, Wilt was an absolute freak, an alien. He was, dare I say, not human. human? A little cheesy, I get it, but to show you what I mean, the first thing we're going to talk about was the man's vertical leap. Now, we're not sure exactly how high Wilt could jump. That wasn't something they measured in the 1960s. Regardless, some from his era have estimated that Wilt's vertical was around 48 inches, while others have said that it was as high as 54 inches. So
no way.
If his vertical was on the low end of the spectrum there, we're still talking about a 7'1" center who apparently had a vertical leap that was comparable to Michael Jordan.
7'1" with a 50-inch vertical. I don't even care if it ended up being 48. That's 50. You round it up. I know y'all math, so go ahead and round that up. And 50-inch vertical at 7'1". He would literally be the best player in the NBA right now, like, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
That seems crazy, I get it. But let's just take a look at this video. We can see here that during a game, Wilt's arm almost reaches the top of the backboard. So if you think a 54-inch vertical leap is a little unbelievable, fine. Let's just agree, though, that the man could jump. That was a major reason for why he was so unstoppable at the time. Not only was he among the tallest people in the world, he also had the highest vertical in basketball. This allowed Wilt to leap over his defenders for easy layups. He was able to sky for rebounds that other men of his era could only dream of grabbing. Wilt's jumping ability was legit. The game tape certainly proves this. And the thing is, the stories we have from Wilt's time only further this fact. For instance, while at Kansas, Wilt's coach Phog Allen was pushing for basketball to be played on 12-foot rims, which was strange. But what was even stranger was that Wilt was able to routinely dunk on those 12-foot rims. And actually, that should be no surprise, because according to Sonny Hill, Wilt could grab a quarter off the top of the backboard.
Like Earl Manigault?
The top of the backboard is 13 feet tall. And perhaps the most incredible thing
not like the GOAT
ability achieved was an actual rule change. Because there was a time when Wilt would take 3 steps back from the foul line, throw the ball at the backboard, run, jump from the free throw line, rebound the miss, and dunk to make sure that every foul shot he took went in. Yes, this was legal at the time, and of course, it isn't now, because basketball had to change its rules for Wilt Chamberlain.
Crazy. So, outside of athleticism, who would y'all say was the better player? Or not even who's the better player. Who would you rather have on your team? Wilt Chamberlain or Kareem? Like, I've been kind of doing the Bill Russell versus Wilt comparison, and it's kind of been like a known fact that Wilt Chamberlain was better. But let me know who's better between Wilt and Kareem. I think that's going to be so much tougher, man. I don't know. Let me know who you got, though, in the comments.
Number 4. Freakish strength. When players from
Athletic
his era
and
talk
strong?
about Wilt, they refer to his strength as almost some godlike ability. For instance, Johnny Kerr, the former coach of the Bulls, during Wilt's final years in the league, has been quoted as saying, "People talk about the strength of Shaq. I think Wilt could have picked up Shaq and thrown him through the hoop." Yes, in a time where modern weightlifting routines have become popular, Wilt has been described by many as the strongest basketball player they had ever seen. He used this strength to casually body defenders on his way to the basket, to throw away his opponents when they challenged him for rebounds, to intimidate everyone the moment he stepped on the court. This strength is one of the biggest reasons why Wilt supporters claim he would still be a star in the NBA today. And while I'm not going to take a side in that argument because it's impossible to prove one way or the other, the fact remains that Wilt's strength was freakish, and it scared people. Former Celtic Casey Jones remembers that once Wilt used one arm to stop Casey and lift him off the ground with his feet dangling. Casey remembers that his legs were still shaking when he went to attempt his free throws. And as for his teammates, there was a time when Paul Silas was about to get in a fight, and instead, Wilt picked him up, turned him around, and said, "We're not going to have that stuff." To which Paul responded, "Yes, sir, and trust me, there are other stories."
This sounds like some of the Doseki comments. Like, damn, like, he said, he said, "You about to fight him?" He said, "We're not gonna have that." He said, "You know what? Yes, sir." Like, that's something only Wilt and Doseki probably can do.
Stories of Wilt picking up two 200-pound grown men up into the air by their shirts like some cartoon. Stories of a 40-year-old Wilt casually lifting 600 pounds as if it was nothing. But at this point, I think you get it. Wilt was just
This is the most interesting man in the world.
Which brings us to number 3. Faster than NFL running backs. I guess now would be a good time to mention.
So he had a 50-inch vertical. He was stronger than... He could pick Shaq up and throw him through a hoop. And now they said that he was crazy fast too? Oh my God, man, this is crazy. I can't imagine what the next two gonna be.
The fact that Wilt was nearly a world-class track athlete. In college, he won the Big 8 high jump competition 3 years in a row. He threw a shot put 56 feet and he ran a sub-11 second 100-yard dash. It's that last fact, Wilt's speed, that is perhaps the most impressive thing here.
I wonder what his 40-yard dash was.
There have been a handful of guys who were really tall, really strong, and could jump really high. But how many of those guys were also among the fastest men on the planet? Time and time again in the NBA, Wilt proved his speed, as several times a game he would beat other centers down the court for easy baskets. His teammates knew to look out for these opportunities as much as possible because they knew how fast Wilt really was. His former coach with the Warriors, Alex Hannum, illustrated this by saying, "When I coached the San Francisco Warriors, I thought Al Attles was the fastest guy on our team by far. So I set up a series of races, baseline to baseline. In the finals, it was Wilt and Al Attles, and Wilt just blew past him. I'm convinced that Wilt Chamberlain is one of the greatest all-around athletes the world has ever seen. And if you're still not convinced of how fast Wilt really was, just listen to this. Legend has it that at a party, Wilt and NFL Hall of Fame running back Jim Brown began to argue about who was faster. So they went outside and Wilt beat him in a race. Then Jim Brown wanted a second chance. So they raced again and again. Wilt beat one of the best running backs the NFL has ever seen in a test of speed.
That's what I was about to say, like, he's not even saying he's the greatest basketball athlete of all time. He's saying he's the greatest just athlete, period. Like, and before I could even say that, Jim Brown came into the picture, who they say could arguably be one of the greatest athletes of all time, and he dusted him, so it's crazy. Like, I'm really curious what these next two about to be.
Yeah, the man was just ridiculous. Number 2.
What's this?
Underrated defensive beast. Okay,
Block
so
a lot of shots? I would assume so, though.
About Wilt's stats in this video, and I'm not. We all know his stats. So instead, let's talk about the most underrated part of Wilt's game: his shot blocking ability. Because when we look back at that era, everyone remembers Bill Russell and his defensive ability. What everyone has forgotten, though, was that Wilt had plenty of defensive talent of his own. Now, the NBA did not record blocks and steals back when Wilt played, so we don't know exactly how many blocks a game he had. What we do know is that there are several stories available that can give us an insight onto just how dominant he was. For instance, before his first game against Wilt, future Hall of Famer Walt Bellamy went up to Wilt and said, "Hello, Mr. Chamberlain, I'm Walter Bellamy." Wilt shook his hand and replied, "Hello, Walter. You won't get a shot off in the first half." He then proceeded to block all 9 of Bellamy's shot attempts in the first half.
No way.
Beginning the second half by saying, "Okay, Walter, and now you can play."
That's some Larry Bird shit right
Bellamy
there.
averaged 31 points a game.
Not the blocks, but just the trash talk.
That one that proved just how good Wilt was defensively when he locked in. He was so good that sometimes players wanted to fight him. For instance, there was a time when opposing big man Tom Masheri tried to fake Wilt out with 4 pump fakes before finally putting up a shot and was rejected. The ball landed back in Masheri's hands, where again he tried several fakes and again he put up a shot and was rejected. Instead of trying the third shot, Masheri decided to fight Wilt in anger. So he tried to throw a few punches, but Wilt just looked at him and laughed while holding his hand on Masheri's forehead. Finally, Wilt said, "That's enough," and Masheri unnecessary stopped immediately. And the final story we have of Wilt's defensive dominance comes from Larry Brown, as Brown witnessed a time when Magic Johnson had just entered the league and Wilt was in his mid-40s. The two were playing a pickup game at UCLA, and in the game, Magic made a few questionable calls. This made Wilt mad, so Wilt declared to everyone, "There will be no more layups in this gym." He then proceeded to block every single one of Magic's shots, because unlike a lot of star athletes, Wilt did not get soft with age. In fact, and number one, volleyball star. To give you an idea of just how well Wilt Chamberlain aged, when the man was 45, the Cavaliers offered him a contract. Then, when he was 50, the New Jersey Nets did the same thing.
No way.
That's how in shape Wilt kept himself. Maybe he lost a step when he entered his 40s, but he made up for it by somehow managing to increase his strength. This happened when he was working out with Arnold Schwarzenegger on the set of their movie Conan the Destroyer. As on set, Wilt increased his bench press to an absurd 500 pounds. He managed to maintain this late into his life, as when he was 59, he was still able to bench press 465 pounds, which was incredible. But moving away from his strength, let's talk about Wilt's volleyball career. Yes, did you know that after the NBA, Wilt began a career as a volleyball player? Somehow in his retirement, Wilt was able to learn a completely different sport and become a near professional level player in that sport. For years after basketball, Wilt appeared in volleyball all-star games against some of the best competition in the world. And while his fundamentals were a little spotty, I mean, he did start playing volleyball seriously when he was in his 40s, Wilt was still able to use his overall athleticism to gain one of the deadliest spikes the sport had seen. And due to his playing ability as well as his work trying to raise volleyball awareness across the United States, Wilt was inducted into the Volleyball Hall of Fame. Was there anything on earth this guy could not do? So there you have it, guys. 5 or about 20 stories why Wilt Chamberlain.
That was more than 5.
I hope you enjoyed this video, and the craziest part is I left out so many stories, because if I included every story I saw, this video would have been about 45 minutes long, and I'm not sure a lot of people would have sat through a 45-minute YouTube video. I think this was long enough though, and I hope you learned something new. And yes, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to subscribe. Again,
shout out to him for that video. Yes, it was a great one, but I'm gonna cut him off because I don't think he's about to really talk about nothing else. But I appreciate y'all for watching. This was really good video, man. He talked about some stuff I never knew about. I had no clue that Wilt played volleyball. Like, that's really crazy. But I like that he didn't talk about stats, because we kind of get lost in the stats, and you know, it's just like so quick to be like, well, he was playing against this person and that person, so the stats don't mean this, it don't mean that. But we're not here for the stats. We was here for the facts. And you know, how athletic he was, how fast he was, how strong he was, what sport he went to go play, these different races that they talked about. Like, all that shit is crazy to me. So would y'all say that Wilt was just the greatest athlete ever to play basketball? Or would y'all say he's the greatest basketball player to ever play in the NBA? Like, that's two completely different things, because we can always just say he was an athlete but wasn't really that good. But he had to put it together. He still was out there averaging 50 points and 25 rebounds for a season, which I think is crazy. But yeah, man, I appreciate y'all for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if y'all want to see more videos like this. Go ahead and like this video if you like this video, and go ahead and write something in the comments. Let me know that question that I asked y'all earlier. Who are y'all choosing? Kareem or Wilt Chamberlain? But I appreciate y'all like always. We out.